Moon Highway, you and Christia chugging Crown and Coke again?
Sober since 2019. Worse than tequila nightmares. France voicemails me in Quebecois.
Comrades, seize the Timbits.
Canadians, do you think that's fair, that that's what he has to pay in rent for a $9 million luxury condo when your government is responsible for doubling rent, doubling mortgage costs, requiring Canadians to have to save 25 years just for a down payment? That's your government's legacy, and you're giving this guy a $9 million condo for $1,800 a month. Do you think it's fair, yes or no?
Fact of dollars.
Well, MP Dencho, I don't know whether you want this to be a monologue or you want me to appear. Because
the question I'm asking you is very clear.
I don't need to be here.
Why are the most detailed commitments in the agreement net zero and DEI and not jobs guarantees for Brampton?
Are you against women being on boards?
No, I would say I'm for 100%.
Just answer the question.
That's not what I said, first of all, but also I'd be for 100% female boards. It should be merit-based, but the question is, why is there no reference to keeping jobs at Stellantis and so much emphasis on these policies?
But I don't know why you're all saying that there's no commitment. There is. So, just look at the contracts and then you'll be informed.
What section?
You know, it's going to be in the production of the contract on the SIF agreement for Windsor and Brampton, period, and the amendment.
I'm not sure if you understand the magnitude of the money that you've committed, but I did some math. And the number of two-parent, full-time working households that had to work for your government to provide just its contribution to Stellantis is over 647,000 Canadian families had to work an entire year for your government to provide up to $11 billion. And there is no explicit jobs guarantee in anywhere here.
True.
So
you're putting words into my mouth, which I don't agree.
Of whether there's a
and also, you're not being true to the contract.
You're not
because the contract is until 2032. So math doesn't work. Stop doing politics. The goal right now is to protect the workers.
Enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Minister Joly, for being with us today. Of course, we have a copy of the redacted contract of the special contribution agreement of up to $15 billion taxpayer dollars and the Strategic Innovation Fund, which represents a $500 million contribution from your government. Of course, to Stellantis for the Nexstar EV battery plant, as you know, courtesy of CBC last week. So now we have a situation where 3,000 people have been laid off in the Brampton facility, as you know, and you've responded to say that you're going to sue them, that they've broken their promises. And just today you've announced that you're starting the formal dispute resolution. So I'm trying to understand what exactly the promise is that you're saying they broke, assuming that means that they broke a promise they signed in the contract. So can you tell the committee where in this agreement, courtesy of CBC, is that Canada-wide jobs guarantee? What clause?
Well, first of all, when it comes to the different, so I think we should be clear, there are 3 different contracts. This committee will have access to it. The government is acting in good faith. I want to make sure that everybody is aware of these contracts and will be able to have access to it. So it's not a courtesy of CBC or not. The government has already accepted the production of the contract.
That's the first that I'm able to see it. So is it in that contract or is it in another SIF agreement?
So obviously you'll see in the contract that all the contracts are linked. And clearly, it is about protecting jobs. It is about also the production at the Brampton facility. So you'll see that clearly. So, by the way, I must say, Raquel, because I think your question is really an important one, this committee, although it's not necessarily the same members, but this committee got access to contracts for the Nexstar facility 2 years ago. So that's why the government has never been clearer that you can obviously have access to it.
Those are read in confidence. We do know they're going to OGO, and now CBC has released it. So this is the first access we've been able to publicly see the contract. And again, I'll just say as an aside, this is, of course, a professional setting, Minister, so I'm extending a professional courtesy to you to refer to as Minister Joly. I would appreciate that same courtesy to me in this setting. Thank you. So in this contract, though, there is no jobs guarantee other than the 2,500 at the Nexstar plant. So are you saying that the other SIF agreement that was for retooling Brampton and Windsor, does that contain a Brampton jobs guarantee?
So I must dispute what you just said. This is not a fact. There's always job numbers guarantees. That's exactly why the government of Canada and also the government of Ontario in this case have decided to support the company. Because at the end of the day, why do we do this? MP Dencho, we do that because we believe that it's important to create jobs, to protect jobs
Right.
and create
No, I agree,
jobs.
Minister,
So
and I
you will
know
have
that.
access to the information.
I
You will
appreciate
see in
that.
the contract
So we
that there are
have
job
the-
numbers.
thank you. We
And
don't-
of course, there are things that are commercially sensitive, but the government will be acting in good faith.
But in the contract that we were provided from CVC publicly, there is a jobs commitment to the Nexstar plant. There is no mention of Brampton. So I'm asking you, in the contract we have not been able to see for Brampton, is there a jobs guarantee for Brampton?
There are jobs guarantees in all the different contracts, but I must say also that you absolutely need to make sure that you see not only the contract that is linked to the investment through the Strategic Innovation Fund for the Windsor and Brampton facility, but also its amendment. And we'll make sure that that's the case.
So you're saying that the Nexstar, the two contracts you've provided to them that total well over $15 billion, that you're tying that contract being paid out to the other SIF agreement for the Brampton and Windsor retooling. Is that correct? Because they're in violation of a Brampton.
The three contracts are linked. There's a
Right, they're
contract
linked
and an
through
amendment.
14.1G.
So-
yeah.
A couple of things. And maybe, Charles, if you want to be able to address the question by MP Dencho. But just before I pass it to Charles, it is really important to understand that in the contract, when you refer to $15 billion, the $15 billion was linked to the production and sale of batteries. So when you look at Windsor right now, and obviously your colleague would know because she's from the writing, the facility has been built, but the company is still hiring. And there's not been any production and sale of batteries yet. So the government has not spent $15 billion. So I know that some
Thank you.
colleagues have been using the
I
term
appreciate
$15 billion,
that.
but it's not
It's up
accurate.
to $15 billion, though.
But it's not been
And I think
spent
what
yet
you've
by the
painted in the
government,
media is
and
that
that's an important
what
fact.
you're saying, though, is that because those 3,000 jobs at Brampton were laid off, they're in violation of their agreements. Fair enough. Now, you're saying that there is a Brampton jobs guarantee in that other SIF agreement that no one in the media or ourselves has seen. That's going to OGO. We welcome that opportunity to see that. But you're saying there's a jobs guarantee in there that will link it to the Nexstar battery plant. Is that correct?
It's actually linked to the fact that the Brampton facility must be operating, and there is not a possibility. If the Brampton facility ceases its production, there will be a violation of the contract.
And that's going to impact your agreements with the Nexstar plant. Is that correct?
And that's why we're actually starting today
With
the
the
mechanism
default.
of dispute settlement, because it is important that we be able
Understood.
to hold the company
are you
to account.
prepared
But I
then-
just, MP Dencho, maybe Charles, you want to add something?
Sure. Thank you very much. I guess what I would just highlight in all the agreements under the Strategic Innovation Fund, there are regular commitments around jobs, around the maintenance of activity, and so those are the
Thank you.
types of economic
Just with my
activity.
remaining 10 seconds, so are you prepared to pull back some of this up to $15 billion and the other funding from Nexstar if they don't properly equip with the 3,000 workers in Brampton? Do you understand what I'm saying? Are you prepared to make that commitment? You're going to roll back some Nexstar funding?
Well, we'll make sure that basically we continue to uphold them to the funding that they're liable for, period.
I'm out of time. Again, it's 3,000 jobs, as you've said, and you've linked the contract, the SIF retooling with Brampton and Windsor to the Nexstar plants. So I need to understand, though, you mentioned there was a production guarantee for the Brampton SIF agreement, but you did not specify an employment guarantee number. So was it 3,000 jobs that SIF agreement with Brampton guaranteed?
So I will provide that information through you because obviously they're commercially sensitive information. So I
If
just
I may
need
just
to check
correct,
with.
if I may just interrupt
But
for a moment, if I just
don't want to
may,
be interrupted,
before,
Mr. Chair. I
but
just
before
want to
you
be able
mention
to
that,
finish my sentence,
may.
please.
Minister,
So-
MP Dancho.
if I may.
Yeah, here's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
When we ask the minister to appear, we want the minister to have an opportunity to have answers. We want members to have an opportunity to have questions. I'm not going to hold the time of her response against your time.
What about this time?
Okay, this time the clock is paused, so you're okay. Minister, I'll let you finish the response. Madame Dancho, I'll ask to let her complete, and then Minister, I'll ask you to let her complete. I'm not going to hold the clock
Yeah, that's it.
hostage here. So Minister, finish, and then MP
Yeah,
Dancho,
I
back
think
to
it's
you.
important when you look at the different contracts that first and foremost, particularly on the battery front, the contract is 1/3 the government of Ontario and 2/3 the government of Canada. So it's not $15 billion. I know that the MP has referred to $15
Minister,
billion for the
I will have to
government
cut
of
you off
Canada.
because this isn't
It's
what I
actually
asked you
together.
specifically.
But to go specifically on the job numbers, we'll look at what is possible to make public because of commercially sensitive information.
If I may on that specific
but
point,
I
please.
just want to
if I
finish
may
my
on that
answer.
specific point,
and
please, if you'll
therefore
allow me,
we will
Minister.
be
It is
able
my
to
time,
answer
so I'm
your
just going to have
question.
to respond. So on the commercially sensitive redactions, now on the CIF agreement for Nexstar, the jobs guarantee of 2,500 was not redacted, so it stands to reason that it wouldn't be redacted, wouldn't be commercially sensitive under a different CIF agreement. Surely you can tell us if there was a 3,000 person jobs guarantee for Brampton, and that's not commercially sensitive information. So it is concerning to me that you're not committing that there was a jobs guarantee for the Brampton
that's
facility.
not what I'm saying.
So you're saying that there is...
I'm saying that all the plants were linked and all the contracts are linked. So you will be able to see it when we will be producing.
But if there
the
wasn't
cover.
a jobs guarantee of 3,000 people at Brampton, which is the whole reason you're here, then how is it that you're tying all of the money to a jobs guarantee that may or may not exist? You should be able to tell us if there is a jobs guarantee for the 3,000 jobs in Brampton.
I think you're falling into the trap of trying to find a problem where there's none.
Well, the problem is that
Because
3,000 people were laid
what
off,
the government
and your
was trying
government
to
committed
do-
thousands, millions, and billions, in fact, of dollars.
Well, MP
and we're
Dancho, I
trying
don't
to
know whether
understand
you
if
want this to be a
there's-
monologue or you want to me to
but
appear.
the
Because
question
if you
I'm
want
asking
this
you
to
is
be a
very
monologue,
clear.
So, colleagues,
I don't need to be here.
Colleagues, I'm going to pause us again for a moment. I do want to ensure that we've got an opportunity for dialogue. I think that's the ultimate goal here. Minister, if you can give us maybe 30 seconds in your
Okay.
reply, MP Dancho will go back to you, and then I believe you were hoping to split the time with Mr. Seaback, of which there would be about 3 minutes or so left. Minister, if you want to give us about a 30-second answer here.
Yeah, well, ultimately the goal was to create jobs. And so obviously there were job numbers, and obviously it was linked to the fact that we needed to protect the Brampton facility. I was not negotiating at the time, but this is clear through the very evaluation and just the fact that just reading the contracts. When you see that there are contracts that are linked to investing in the Windsor plant that are linked to the Brampton facility, or investing in the Windsor Nexstar LG, basically Stellantis LG contract linked to the Brampton facility. So clearly it was to protect the jobs. And so that was the position of the government.
If I may, so again, what we're trying to dig down is if your government instituted a clause in one of these three agreements that guaranteed the broader Stellantis footprint in Canada, including the 3,000 jobs that were just laid off. You know this. So what I'm trying to drill down is if there was something in the contracts, there isn't one in here. Brampton is even mentioned in the contract for the Nexstar agreement. I understand they can be linked. There is a clause 14.1G that may link it to the Brampton facility. But you're not committing whether there was a clear jobs guarantee there. So your argument is, oh, no, we're covered. We're suing them in clear grounds. But you're not telling us, in fact, if there was 3,000 jobs guaranteed in that CIF agreement. So that's the real question I have, because there is significant commitments, as you know, up to $15 billion in partnership with Ontario. We have also another $1 billion of capital investment as well for the retooling of Brampton and Windsor under the CIF agreement. I'm trying to nail down if there's a jobs requirement for Brampton. A further $500 million in this CIF agreement for the Nexstar. We're talking about billions and billions and billions of dollars. And from our estimation and the historic investment that your government has made, surely there should be an explicit Canada-wide jobs guarantee. But we're splitting hairs here. You're kind of being quite evasive of the numbers, whether there's a real guarantee. It should be explicit if you're going to give a historic amount of taxpayer funding. In fact, just to wrap up, Mr. Chair, I will just say this. I'm not sure if you understand the magnitude of the money that you've committed, but I did some math. And the number of two-parent full-time working households that had to work for your government to provide just its contribution to Stellantis is over 647,000 Canadian families had to work an entire year for your government to provide up to $11 billion. And there is no explicit jobs guarantee in anywhere here.
True.
So
you're putting
disappointing,
words into
but
my
you're not
mouth,
giving
which
a
I
commitment
don't
of
agree.
whether there's a 3,000
And also, you're not
So,
being true
colleagues,
to
I
the
think
contract.
You're not
because
giving
the
that commitment.
contract is until
happen-
2032. So math doesn't
There isn't
work.
a there isn't
And
Minister-
how many
stop doing
taxpayers had to pay
politics. The
to
goal
fund this
right now
agreement.
is to
That
protect the
fact.
workers.
Enough.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to be generous here. Mr. Seaback, I'm going to give you the opportunity because I believe that MP Dancho was hoping to share some time with you. There is not time left. I'm going to be generous, provide you the opportunity for a question.
Oh, thank
and
you.
I ask that you allow the minister to respond in full to that question, and then we're going to continue. Okay?
Great. Minister, I know you're aware that Oshawa lost a shift, 700 jobs. They went to the United States for production there. Oshawa plant makes light-duty trucks and heavy-duty trucks. Are you aware that GM is now retooling an abandoned EV plant in Orion, Michigan to manufacture light-duty trucks starting Q1 2027? And I spoke to Unifor Auto Workers this morning about this. So they want to know from you, will you guarantee today that they will not lose their jobs and have those jobs be transferred to the United States, just like what happened at the Brampton Stellantis plant? Will you guarantee it today?
So, Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I think that this was about Stellantis. I will answer, of course, discussions linked to GM. When it comes to Oshawa, the third shift is here until January, and we're fighting for it. And we're having conversation with Stellantis to make sure that we're able to keep it and to keep the production in St. Catharines and to keep and bring back also a production to Ingersoll. And I will continue to push because I think that is completely unacceptable what is going at GM. That being said, I think that what is happening at GM and what is happening at Stellantis are two different decisions, because there was a clear commitment on the part of Stellantis before the Canadian government to make sure that there would be a facility that would be working with the Jeep Compass at Stellantis in Brampton. When it comes to also the third shift, we'll continue to make sure that we put pressure on GM. I will be having conversation with Mayor Barra. Unifor has been having conversations also with GM, and we will be united because I've met also with the Oshawa people. I've met with the Oshawa Auto Workers. I've met also with Unifor, and I'll make sure that they can keep their jobs.
Thank you, Mr. Seaback.
Appel au règlement, Monsieur le Président.
Oui, allez-y, Monsieur Saint-Maire.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be splitting my time with MP Borelli. Minister, you claim that there's a section and a clause in the contract that can point specifically to a violation Stellantis has made. So has the Government of Canada, their lawyers, contacted Stellantis and invoked that clause?
That's what we're doing today. That's exactly the letter that we're sending today.
So today you're invoking a clause in a contract. What section and what specific clause will you be invoking?
So you don't have access, I gather, to the contract that is linked to the SIF agreement, which is, bureaucrat words, the Strategic Innovation, Public Servant words, Strategic Innovation Fund, and that is linked to the Strategic Innovation Fund support for Windsor and Brampton, and there's an amendment also to that contract.
So, Minister, I heard you mention the federal EV mandates, and we've had some auto executives here at this committee who said, you know, the pause doesn't create the certainty that the industry requires, and really the one very simple and easy thing the government could do to breathe some life into the sector would be to remove these EV mandates. So given all the pressures on the auto sector from trade negotiations and the latter, should or will you commit today to eliminating the EV mandate?
So my goal is to make sure that when it comes to the future of the sector, that the production in Canada is protected. And actually that there are incentives for them to continue to even more produce in Canada. So that's why I've had the conversation with Honda and Toyota, who have both have non-plug-ins hybrids. I'm willing to have conversations with them. I'm willing to do things to protect the jobs in Alston, to make sure that the Toyota and Honda
one last
plants
quick question, because
secured.
my time's very limited. In the Strategic Innovation Fund agreement, there's very detailed enforceable reporting on gender equality, diversity, and climate initiatives goes as far as saying there's a 50-30 challenge where the board's made up of 50% women and non-binary people, 30% racialized, LGBTQ+, people with disabilities, First Nations, Métis. Why are the most detailed commitments in the agreement net zero and DEI and not jobs guarantees for Brampton?
Are you against women being on boards?
No, I would say I'm for 100%.
Just answer the question.
That's not what I said, first of all, but also I'd be for 100% female boards. It should be merit-based. But the question is, why is there no reference to keeping jobs at Stellantis and so much emphasis on these policies?
But I don't know why you're all saying that there's no commitment. There is. So, just look at the contracts and then you'll be informed.
Which section?
You know, it's going to be in the production of the contract on the
Thank
SIF
you,
agreement for
sharing my
Windsor
time.
and Brampton, period. And the amendment.
Jump in, Kathy.
And I must say, we're acting in good faith. We're not on the different teams here. We all want the same thing. And the same thing is to bring back production at Brampton.
Minister, billions of dollars of taxpayer money was poured into a single foreign-owned company, Stellantis. Taxpayers want to know, and they deserve to know, where their money is being used. They deserve to know if that money will lead to good-paying jobs for Canadians. What actions will you take if you do not receive a plan from Stellantis? Within the contracts of Stellantis, if there was a default, then they must pay the money back. Mm-hmm. Will you commit to ensuring Stellantis pays back the billions of taxpayer dollars your government handed out?
Well, that's what we're doing today. We're launching that process. But I just want to understand, you're from Windsor, right?
Yes, that's correct, Ms.
So I guess people in Windsor are happy with the investments of the battery plant, because as of now, there's 1,000 new jobs that were created, and it's growing to 2,500 jobs. So I just want to make sure that the narrative coming from the Conservative team here is consequential. That do you
Minister,
agree with the investments in the EV battery plant or not?
Sure we do. I just want to make sure that those jobs are secured. So will you commit to making sure of that for us? And will you commit to ensuring Stellantis pays back the money that we've given them if they don't continue to employ people at the Brampton plant?
Kathy, we're on board. We both agree.
Well, I don't see a definite plan. It always seems like the Liberals are pouring money out without a plan, and we don't often see the results that we need.
Listen, that's easy to say. You know, I'm sorry, but I don't know why we're playing politics here. We're in a global competition to attract investments. We were able to get an investment from Stellantis, which is a joint venture between a Korean company, and Nexstar, which is a joint venture between LG and Stellantis, in creating 2,500 jobs in your riding in the wonderful city of Windsor that I look forward going to very soon. This was a pivotal moment for the community. I understand there's a lot of anxiety. I understand that people in the sector are scared of losing their jobs. But at the time where there is a pressure against the sector, having new investments is fundamental. So we should work together to make sure that we're fighting for the jobs at Brampton, but keeping the jobs and creating new ones in Windsor. Okay. And I don't know why there is a competition between both. I think we can do both.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Ms. Borelli. That's time.
Oh, yeah. We'll go to Mr. Brock, please, for 5.
Minister, notwithstanding your opening comments about the importance of Canada's relationship to the United States, your appearance today is exclusively about the egregious abuse of taxpayer money. Emily Richardson, the Chief of Staff of your Associate Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, the author of the infamous memo, was given information that Tom Clark was instrumental throughout the process and gave the green light for the purchase of the Billionaires Row condo. She testified that she simply inserts information as provided to her. Minister, you acknowledge that she wrote the original memo circulated on June 17th to your former chief that states Clark was instrumental, correct?
Donc, je vais juste répondre à votre question, Larry.
Just to answer your question, Larry. My chief of staff was informed once that his decision was made, and that's what was stated here. That's the information I have. These are the facts.
Day after this committee passed a motion ordering all documents from your department related to the purchase of the condo, the same Emily Richardson, who says she simply inputs information provided to her, all of a sudden issued a major correction saying it was a mistake that Clark was instrumental and gave the green light. Minister, do you find that suspicious in any way?
Non, absolument pas. Parce que, bien entendu,
No, absolutely not. Because as I answered our colleague Rachel Blaney earlier, there's always some information provided to different ambassadors and consuls, but they don't have any decision-making power.
Suspicious, as do the millions of Canadians who are watching this on a live feed. And now it's been confirmed that your staff, the ministry officials who've appeared here, and even Tom Clark himself, the buddy, the good friend of Justin Trudeau himself, was instrumental in starting the process of relocating Tom Clark to Billionaires Row condominium in Manhattan. It was simply unsuitable for him. It was important for him to have the full suite of Gaggenau appliances. It was important for him to have the $5,000 coffee machine. It was important for him to have the golf simulator, and your office provided that to him. Isn't that correct?
non, c'est faux, Larry.
No, that's not true, Larry. You know what Canadians are looking at today? There are millions of people looking at us. I think that's somewhat exaggerated. I think there are millions of Canadians that have their eyes focused on what's happening in the U.S., the results of today's elections, and what Canadians expect is that we should be well represented, that we invest in our relationship with the United States.
A memo created by Emily Richardson was sent to your office, to your chief of staff. Your office gets involved, and the story around Tom Clark mysteriously and suddenly changes. Did you personally, Minister, become involved in the process to cover up for Justin Trudeau's close friend, Tom Clark? Yes or no?
Absolument pas. Puis
Absolutely not. I would like to know, every time you mention Mr. Trudeau, do you have...
Trudeau, did your chief of staff assist Justin Trudeau in covering up for Tom Clark, yes or no?
j'ai déjà répondu.
I think I've already answered that question. Every time you mention Justin Trudeau, I will also mention Pierre Poilievre, because one thing is for sure.
Again, were you ever briefed on the condo purchase from June 17th when your top official, your chief of staff, became aware a government document identified Clark as being instrumental and gave the green light?
Est-ce que Pierre Poilievre vous a demandé?
Pierre Poilievre, he asked us the same question 3 times. Maybe I'll give 3 different answers.
What else is your chief of staff keeping from you, and by extension, you, Minister, keeping from Canadians?
Je pense que les Canadiens.
I think Canadians expect us to invest in the relationship, that we have value for our money, and that all the processes are followed.
En accord avec cette approche.
So we agree with that.
Clark is paying $1,800 per month in rent. That's less than the national average for Canadians. Do you think that's fair, that that's what he has to pay in rent for a $9 million luxury condo when your government is responsible for doubling rent, doubling mortgage costs, requiring Canadians to have to save 25 years just for a down payment? That's your government's legacy, and you're giving this guy a $9 million condo for $1,800 a month. Do you think it's fair, yes or no?
How much is Pierre Poilievre paying for staying in his government-funded
Minister,
house
I have great
right
news
now?
for you. You're going to have lots of time to ask us questions when you're on the opposition side of the House. But today, you're supposed to be a minister that's responsible for your department, and you're demonstrating a failure in that.
Yeah, that is our time.
Moon Highway, you and Christia chugging Crown and Coke again?
Sober since 2019. Worse than tequila nightmares. France voicemails me in Quebecois.
Comrades, seize the Timbits.
Gang, what's up? Aaron, Canadian loony. Canadian federal politics is wild. You can form your own opinion, but base it not on what the legacy news media shows you. None of that stuff. We show the frontline politics right here from the House of Commons, from Parliament, from the committee investigations, those hearings, the legacy media. We cover that too. We filter and screen all of that out. Let's take a peek at the most recent tidbit of information that should lead someone to believe that we need an election and Carney has to go. All of these Liberal cabinet ministers are sloths and some of the most virile people that you're ever going to want to not run your country, just take over your life, I guess. Anyways, form your own opinion based on information like this. Let's take a look.